And basically it's a sound effects machine. It's not so much an organ or a musical instrument as it is a sound effect. There's gongs of people to play, and you can actually stop the sound coming out of the organ pipes and increase the volume of the sound coming out of other pipes. It's made up basically of ventilation, ductwork, steel rod, sheet metal gongs, 19th century French organ pipes, and industrial vacuum cleaners blowing air into the vent system. This was basically an effort. It's been about 6 days now, just gathering equipment and materials and welding the thing on the spot here until about 2 in the morning in the dark. Brought along a couple of other unorthodox musical instruments that I made within the last year. And the giant kalimba to my left, the slag gong to the left of that. Basically, we've had a few problems here. I've become a master of duct tape through this whole process. It's constantly springing leaks. You're totally maintaining the thing throughout the performance. And I try to get around and squeeze off hoses to increase the volume and the pitch in some pipes, and then hit a gong here and there, grab my flute and play a little riff along with it, throw in a lick of kalimba, and jump out occasionally and grab a member of the audience to get them to participate in the piece. Every now and then a musician will pop through and we'll do a duet. And as a matter of fact, the other night we had a fantastically magical experience. We were playing percussion, about 6 people playing percussion along the river here, just as the fireworks were going off in the background. And it was one of those magical occasions you work for. You hope that people come along and slip into it and kind of experience the magic that was happening with us, at least. But basically I believe in performance art and art for the people, music that is made public and allows the public to participate. I try to set up an environment that people can walk through, particularly children, and grab a mallet and whack the heck out of a gong and maybe vent some aggressions and eventually approach some kind of sensitivity towards the instrument. Because if you do approach it with sensitivity, you can actually play it. And I guess that's one of the things I've been working towards over the years, trying to spread the idea of public music for the people, democratic approach to making music. Don't really know much else to, what to say.
Where did the concept come from?
What do you do there at the beach?
Basically, this concept was kind of evolved over a period of years. Actually, I have an idea for a mile-long musical composition that I'd like to do eventually, using stylized windsocks, steel flutes that I funnel air through using the windsocks, and put them in chord clusters so that as you bicycle or jog along, say, a bikeway along a river setting, you'll set the time and the pace, and the wind will fluctuate through the pipes and create chord clusters, sound effects for an entire mile. And ultimately, I'd like to see a whole musical garden, a musical sound chord, some isolated spot along the river possibly, where I could kind of evoke people to come to the spot and find out what kind of magic they can make with themselves or with others. With themselves or with others, I should say.
All right, stay up there so you can stay with you.
Okay,
now,
we got to scratch out.
Well, that's all right. We got all that now. The question is, I want you just to say, beside this one, I also have...
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. I'm Steve Collins from WWSN 1077. Entertainment-wise, coming up in Pioneer Village on the Bluegrass stage at 4 o'clock for 25 minutes is the Pine Ridge Partners, and at 5 o'clock, a film.
At the end of my mile-long musical composition, I'd ultimately like to have a sound court, maybe in some isolated spot along the river, where people could find themselves suddenly stumbling upon it, and it would have all kinds of musical instruments, sculptural instruments there that would be basically unbreakable, very durable, and would allow for people to play them, sometimes in groups, sometimes alone. And just some kind of spot where a little bit of enchantment, a little bit of magic can come into some people's lives. Kind of along the lines of that concept is an installation I have over at the Dayton Art Institute at the time being. It's I call it Sound Court. It's made up of 3 giant calimbas, 3 8-foot tall calimbas, tuned pentatonically, and also some giant wind chimes on each side of the calimbas. And basically, that's an installation that a number of people can play, and it is truly musical. They are truly musical instruments, not just sound effect machines. And ultimately, I'd like to just expand upon that concept in some public place. I'm sure the idea would work. I'm sure it's something that can be done. And hopefully before I die, I'll be able to accomplish that fact. Hopefully before I die, I'll be able to accomplish that feat. Hopefully before I die, I'll be able to accomplish that feat. I have at Dayton Art Institute at the time, being called Sound Court, and it's comprised of 5 pieces, all within a symmetrical pattern, 3 giant kalimbas and 2 sets of wind chimes. They're all tuned pentatonically so that the public can play them and sound good. Basically, I didn't want to throw in any chromatic scales because I didn't particularly feel like complicating things, and I'd like non-musicians to be able to play these instruments as well as musicians.
To feel like they're learning something about, you know, music, and as a way to start and you know, appreciate, you know, for beginners as well as people who are more experienced percussion players, you know, to use them.
You never know who you might spark, and you might encourage a child who's never been exposed to music before to possibly pick up an instrument, just because these are out there, and they're not meant to be intimidating. They're meant to be something that evokes one to want to come up, approach them, and play them. Like,
Stimulates your interest in them, and they're out there, they're just sitting out, you know, for people to come up and when they feel like it, play.
right. Funny thing, yeah, some people will approach them with a lot of sensitivity. Others will come up to them and just bang on them. And it's funny because in time, I think they discover for themselves that they are musical instruments and not necessarily anvils to vent aggression against. And
They were made for playing music. You
Right,
know,
I
they
mean,
have specific tones on them, and whether you're playing the wind chimes or using mallets on the kalimbas, you know, to play them, you know, rhythmically and in time, and just try to make some kind of sound or some kind of pattern with them.
yeah, as many as 7 people can play them, actually more than that, but I designed them so that one person could play them and move around the pieces, or a whole group of people could play in an ensemble setting and possibly make good music.
Yes.
There's no reason why that can't be, because like I said, they are all tuned, and they are all musical instruments. So.
Kind of a neat thing to have for even like a group that's playing here, as a just aesthetically as a backdrop. It's nice, and plus to have a certain section in a musical show with a improvisational percussion jam.
Right. I play with a band called The Bridge, a jazz band, jazz fusion, and we've actually incorporated the instruments in some of our pieces. So, you know, they can be used with traditional instruments as well, and they do have quite a sound.
And you played here on a couple of occasions, and just the environmental performance like that with these here really creates a different type of atmosphere for making music and being creative, other than you would find it, say, going out to a club or something like that.
But I think there's a little more room for the spontaneous, a little more room for improvisation. Well, first of all, just given the nature of the instruments, they're unorthodox. Consequently, anything you do is going to be out of the norm.
Well, they have a real unique sound, and I think they're real neat to use in that respect, you know, and they kind of give you a more broader sense of possibilities in playing music and you know, musical instruments in general.
Okay. Well, these pieces are about, I'd say, 6 months worth of work, crammed into about a month and a half's worth of time. I mean, I was working day in, day out on them. I'd get up in the morning, I'd go to the studio, work till 2 and 3 in the morning, possibly taking a break for lunch and supper, but that was it. And I had a deadline to meet, and fortunately I met it. Actually, the pieces are still in progress. I'd like to do something with the finish, perhaps chrome them, or at least maybe take them down to a polish, and then allow the copper sulfated sound bars to contrast with the chrome. But that's something that I'll do once I pull them out of this this site and take them up into the studio. So I've got a lot of work yet to do on them.
Even though they're basically finished, you still have a lot of things to do to improve them, as far as maybe giving them a different appearance, and thus maybe enhancing their sound a little bit too.
Right. Actually, the mallets I'm using at this time aren't the best mallets for the pieces. There's some rattles. There's some rattles in the Calimbas, and if you use a softer mallet, which actually has a better tonal quality, you'll get a rattle. And I think that might have to do with a little bit of slag caught up in some of the corners. When we installed them, I think some was broken loose. Actually, these are sweat boxes. I was up inside each one for about 2 hours.
How do you tune them?
For about 2 hours, just chipping, chipping away slag and trying to make sure that I got any possible means for a rattle
Vibration
out of the pieces.
So how do you usually?
They're tuned. These pieces are tuned with hammers. You basically screw in the sound bars. You screw in bolts. Scratch that. The pieces are tuned with a hammer, and you listen to the scale that you want to create, and tap up or down with the hammer, and just get what sounds good. I tune these along with the vibraphone. I tune these along with the These pieces are tuned with a hammer. You just tap the bars up or down according to what pitch you'd like to achieve. And I used the vibraphone as a means of tuning. Consequently, the tonality seemed to be somewhat similar, and I could get the kind of scale I wanted as easily as possible.
Well, that makes sense to tune into a vibraphone, seeing as how the bars are, remind you of a vibraphone when you look at it, as far as the way that they're flat and different lengths and
Actually, the pieces are derived from the kalimba, the African thumb piano. And obviously you can't play them with your thumbs, although you can get a very nice tonal quality by using the hands. It's much more subtle than the mallets.
Yeah.
And if mic'd, it's quite nice. But they're possibly the world's largest kalimbas. I don't know. Maybe Guinness could tell us.
Well, they're definitely an interesting